Move on now to this item. There was a big stir going around yesterday because it has been announced that Kathleen Kennedy, the president of Lucasfilm, is going to be receiving the Thalberg Academy Award. That's one of their honorary awards. She's going to be receiving an Oscar at this upcoming Academy Awards, and she is the first woman in history to become a recipient of the coveted award. Now, this sparked off a lot of very butthurt, angry people going off saying, what? How can Kathleen Kennedy get an Oscar and blah, blah, because these are people who don't like Star Wars. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with not liking Star Wars. That's perfectly fine. Or the new Star Wars at any rate. Go to hell if you don't like the originals. I'm kidding. It's all subjective. Anyway. So a lot of very butthurt people screaming and yelling and crying about Kathleen Kennedy's getting an Oscar. Well, the fact of the matter is she deserves it. She really does. But keep this in mind, and this kind of came up on open mic yesterday. This is important to understand. She is not getting this Academy Award for her work on the Star Wars films. That's not what she's getting this Academy Award for. She is getting this Academy Award in recognition of the body of work that she has put together over her career. And I'm sorry, but if you don't acknowledge that she is a worthy recipient of this award when you sit back and look at the body of work she has done as a producer over the course of her career, then you're either being willfully ignorant or just completely showing your bias. You can't, with any objectivity or with any sort of sane mind, say that Kathleen Kennedy doesn't deserve this. Let's just look at her career for a second. Remember, this is an award being given in recognition of producers for the Thalberg Award. Let's look at this. First of all, Kathleen Kennedy's been the producer on no less than 8 of her movies have been nominated for Best Picture. E.T., The Color Purple, The Sixth Sense, Seabiscuit, Munich, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Warhorse, and of course Lincoln. And on top of that, she's got all these other films that she's been the producer on. Adventures of Tintin, Poigno, War of the Worlds, AI, Schindler's List, Jurassic Park, my tied for #1 comedy of all time, Noises Off, Cape Fear, Hook, Back to the Future 2, The Goonies, Gremlins, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, Poltergeist, and there are many, 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 many more. Look at me with a straight face and tell me she doesn't deserve this or she's not worthy of this particular honor. Obviously she is. That's obvious. I would agree with everybody who's complaining about it that she does not deserve it for the work done on the Star Wars films. Hey, I'll stand there with you. I will. I'll stand beside you on that. Yeah. But that's not what she's getting this award for. And it boggles my mind seeing some people online who just don't seem to get that. They're just saying, oh, they're just giving it to her for Star Wars. They're just giving it to her for Star Wars. Really? 8 films nominated for Best Picture. Over a dozen high classic films that Steven Spielberg has called her simply the most gifted producer he's ever worked with. Tell me again with a straight face that she is not worthy of this award. Obviously she's worthy of it. It's a no-brainer. Of course she is. And I will agree with you that she doesn't deserve it for Star Wars, but that's not what she's getting it for. She's not getting it for Star Wars stuff. So everybody just take a breath. Relax, says the guy who rants all the time. But take a breath. Relax. It ain't for the Star Wars stuff. It's for her body of work. And even if you're one of those people who hates the Star Wars movies, and there's nothing wrong with that. But even if you are one of those people, even you have to acknowledge, looking at her body of work, she's absolutely a worthy recipient of this. There's just no doubt about it. So just put the bias aside and just take for what it is. Look, I don't like the original Blade Runner, right? But guess what? I'm never going to argue with anybody who says, hey, yeah, but it has its place in the all-time, halls of classic films, particularly sci-fi. It's like, hey, yeah, the film doesn't work for me, but I acknowledge that. I do acknowledge that. That's true. Whether I like the movie or not, that is true. I think a lot of people with this whole Kathleen Kennedy thing are just going to have to look at it the same way. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of Kathleen Kennedy, but when you look at her body of work, does she deserve this recognition? Yeah, you got to acknowledge that she does. So we'll leave it at that. Okay, and last thing off the top.